All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in for our next Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. We are so excited to be here and continue the conversation about year-end planning. Today, we have Dr. Curtis Proctor with us. Hi, Dr. Curtis. Thank you for tuning in with us.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Yep. So if you are joining us, don't forget to go ahead and invite your friends to the Facebook group, tag them in this live if you believe that they should be here as we talk about year-end planning and what this looks like for fundraisers. Also, if you're catching it on a replay, give us a hashtag replay because we love to know that you tuned in. And while we wait for others, go ahead and give us a, hey, I'm here in the chat box. We would love to know that you are here, and we'll get started in a few minutes. All right. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Dr. Proctor, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you on and for us to talk about year-end planning and what this looks like for fundraisers and our nonprofit leaders that's tuning in or catching this on replay. But can we start out by just talking a little bit about you and your background in fundraising?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I look forward to this conversation and sharing some input about what I do for year-end fundraising and really just kind of getting going with the start of the year as well. So just a little bit about me. I've spent 10 plus years in fundraising, mostly in higher education at 3 different institutions now. I started off at Bethune-Cookman University out in Daytona Beach before coming to UCF. And now I'm at Berry Law School here in Orlando. So just really excited about the work in terms of fundraising. I enjoyed it. I've been doing it for, like I said, a number of years, but it's really about just kind of connecting individuals with the mission of the organizations that I work for. I love that point where I can meet donors, I can connect with them and kind of just share my passion, my enthusiasm for what's happening in our community and get them excited about it as well.
Awesome. And fundraising is one of those spaces I can say, and I hear it a lot for nonprofit leaders. For some, it's scary. You just hopped in, you had a passion for just helping and serving your community, but making that act, being able to fundraise, cultivate those relationships can be scary. And for you to say that you have been doing it for years, that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. It can be a little overwhelming. People don't notice about me, but I'm an introvert, so I don't really like talking to people. But when you're excited about something, when you have a passion for something, it comes a little easier. And I guess everybody always gets afraid of, but do I have to ask people for money? And I tell people that's the last thing that I ever do is ask for money. I really get people excited about the vision of the organization, and then we'll get to the money part eventually.
I love it. See, I'm an introvert as well. And some people don't believe it, but I rather just, like be behind the scenes and, get it done that way. But you're right. When your passion will fuel that extrovert out of you, like, right, and then being able to share that passion with others is amazing. So, okay, you want to tell us a little bit about what you do as the Director of Development over at Berry University?
Yeah. So right now I just started Berry probably about 60 days ago, right? So I'm learning a whole new institution, a whole new environment, but I am the Director of Development, which means I oversee major gift fundraising, annual giving, alumni affairs, special events, community engagement, just to name a few of the things that are on my plate. But it's really, I connect with alumni, I connect with corporations, foundations in the community. I share with them the need for our students here at the law school to have support in order for them to achieve their dreams. So it's really just about sharing what's happening here at the law school and connecting with the right folks out in the community.
Awesome. So I know today you came on to share some tips as some of our nonprofit organizations get ready to conclude their fiscal year on June 30th. And even if they are not, looking ahead as to that December 31st or wherever their fiscal year may fall. So I'm going to hand it over to you to kind of talk about some of those tips for year-end planning and how we can start out our new fundraising year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have this little slide. I'll just kind of go through it briefly. We talked a little bit about my background. I'm a 3-time Knight, so go Knights, charge on if there's any folks out there listening.
Go Knights, yeah.
I also adjunct teach in a nonprofit management program. So for those who want to get a little bit more information about nonprofit management, if you're running your own nonprofit organizations, I teach a class in fundraising as well as community service there as well. So yeah, feel free to sign up, get another master's degree, get your first master's degree if you haven't already, right?
Yes.
And so just talking about planning for success. So we'll start with year-end fundraising and kind of year-end planning, really. And for me is basically simple. Do what got you here, right? You've already spent, 10 months, 11 months doing this work, cultivating donors, cultivating relationships. The important thing right now is to just kind of continue doing what you have done up to this point, right? If you have donors who are in the pipeline, if you have donors who you reached out to, you got a little a bite on that hook, right? Connect with them again, reach out one more time, see if you can close that gift before your fiscal year ends, because you don't want to leave anything on the table, because for a lot of nonprofits, especially the smaller ones, those last couple of dollars can really be the difference between impacting the people that you serve versus not. So really continue what you're doing, continue that work that you're doing that already got you here, and whatever that may look like. Is sometimes we get hyper focused on year end. We start making phone calls. We start, trying to send out as many letters as possible. Trying to reach and connect with as many people as possible, or put on these last minute events to try to get dollars through the door. But if you haven't been already doing that, then you're really just kind of building for the next year, right? So spend your time really focused on those things that are kind of in the pipeline already, things that you can consider like low-hanging fruit, things that you can kind of really focus on immediately. And so that would be my advice in terms of year-end planning. But for those of us who are kind of like, all right, well, we do the year-end planning, but at some point we have to start thinking about what's next, right? The next fiscal year, and really getting our minds kind of focused on, all right, we've done what we can do for this fiscal year. Our numbers may be where they're at. We may have hit our goal. We may have just become short of our goal, whatever that looks like for your organization. It's really important to just take time and say, all right, here's what we did. Now let's start planning for the future. All right, how can we do what we did better? How can we have success moving forward? So I'll spend the next couple of slides really talking about planning into the next year, and really kind of capping off where you're at right now. Lasheena, feel free to stop, jump in if there's any questions, or if you want to stop and elaborate on something.
Okay, I will do.
Thank you. So one thing that I like to tell folks that I work with and people that I'm teaching in my classes is, at some point you have to celebrate your success, right? You have to celebrate what you did, what you've done to get to the point that you got to right now. So that may be, just recognizing your team, recognizing the individuals who volunteer for your organization, but celebrate, cap it off, highlight the work that's been done, because there's great work that's being done. There's great work that you have done already. So celebrate it. Take a moment to kind of reflect on that. How do you thank people? How do you thank those who volunteer for your organization? How do you thank those individuals who gave to your organization, whether it's time, talent, or treasure? Really spend some time looking at that, because if you don't, it just kind of feels like a cycle, a never-ending cycle, where you just kind of keep running this treadmill and never really having this endpoint. So when you're able to kind of cap it off at one point and say, hey, this is what we did. This is how we celebrated people. This is the impact that we had in our organization. Let's throw a party. Let's get excited about it. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just taking that moment to recognize the work that's being done and the importance of it. The next thing I would say is review the data, right? Data is very important for all organizations, but you just really don't know what you've done unless you can kind of track it along the way. So first off, if you haven't been tracking your data or tracking your success as you go through, create a plan, create a system where you can kind of keep track of donations that come in through the door, or keep track of everything, that the records of the work that you've done. A lot of times I say, it might be good to break it down by quarters, by month, by monthly, or monthly at that matter, but just kind of focusing on, hey, let's look at how many dollars have we raised this month? What was our total attainment? Throughout the year, in this quarter, how much did we raise? This past 6 months, how much did we raise? This is important for me because it lets me know, okay, some of the activities that we may have done in August may have generated some results in September and October, and we may need to duplicate those results again, right? If we're successful doing a outreach of some sort, whether it's a phone-a-thon, whether it's letters or a social media campaign, we want to be able to track that. We want to say, hey, this many folks we reached out to early on in the year, we saw a result here. How do we duplicate that success moving forward? So that's important for me. I think also with data, there's a couple of different charts and different things that I like to pull on a regular, really. And it's, I like to look at our constituency, like who's giving, where's the money coming from? So is it coming from corporations, foundations? Is it coming from our alumni? Because then that lets me know, okay, we're doing a good job in this bucket, but maybe we need to shift so that we're not so focused on alumni giving. How do we diversify the funds that we're receiving by, kind of spreading the wealth, so to speak? I take a look at side bunt and light bunts. And for those of you who don't know, side bunt is some year, but unfortunately not this year, or light bunt last year, but unfortunately not this year. And I like to look at donors who gave in those capacities so that I can say, all right, well, here's a group of folks who were engaged with our organization at some point. How do we get them reconnected? How do we find out why they disconnected? And what strategies can we use to kind of get them re-engaged moving forward? So data is important. You always want to spend that time looking at, what steps, how do you kind of get from one bucket to the next? How do you find out who your audience is, so to speak? For me, and I put this one in here because coming into a new organization, and when you talk about fundraising, you really have to believe in what you're doing. Like, you can't just kind of go out and not have a belief in the mission, the vision, and the brand. So even though I'm a 3-time Knight, I worked for UCF for about 6 years. I represent Berry now. You see it in my background. It's all about Berry law. It's what I carry with me now. As I meet more students, as I meet faculty and staff and learn about this institution, I start believing in that brand. I believe in a vision. I believe in the impact that it can have long-term for those individuals that we touch, and for those students who are coming through this university, really. And how can I support them so that they can reach their ultimate goal? But for whatever your organization is, whatever your nonprofit is, you have to really take that into consideration. Like, do you believe in the mission, vision? Because when you're asking people to support your organization, whether it's through fundraising, volunteer, money, time, whatever the case may be, they can read right through it. If you don't have a passion for what you do, then people see right through that. So if you don't take it to heart and really kind of go out and live, breathe that moment, breathe the institution, really, it doesn't do you any good long term. So I would encourage you to really take a look at what that mission is, what the vision is, what your brand is overall, and focus in on that. And another part about that is really looking at all of the things that you do. Does it reflect the vision, the mission of your organization as well? So if you have newsletters or social media, does it reflect the mission? Does it showcase what your vision is, what you're trying to do, what the impact is that you're trying to make? And that's important, because if there's any misalignment there, you want to take the time during this part where you are planning for next year to really say, all right, we did this golf tournament, but this really doesn't align with what we're trying to do. We're trying to show people that we're trying to help the community in XYZ manner. So how can we find a fundraising event that aligns with what we're trying to do? And that takes some deep reflection into your organization and saying, hey, let's try something different, new creative ideas, and different things that may capture the attention of the audience that you're trying to reach. Which kind of leads me directly to this next slide. It's really talking about signature moments, right? Like, what are the signature moments for your organization that really captures the attention, that really captures the brand of who you are? And those really can be several different things. They could be things that you do on an annual basis. It could be things that you're trying. But for me and for my team here, and what we're trying to do is we like to have a signature moment each quarter. Right? So what is it that we're really focused on each quarter that really kind of stands out, that kind of puts our brand out there, that's going to give us a little bit momentum to carry us into the next quarter, but also give us momentum that we can kind of highlight and push new community members, new folks that we introduce the brand to get them excited about who we are and what we're about. And those signature moments for us here at the law school, it's been mainly this semester's graduation is coming up. So, how do we remind alumni who kind of came through our organization, the feeling they had on graduation day, right? How important that moment is for students. And then for law students in particular, sitting for the bar is kind of the next, big thing that they'll undertake in terms of their career and studying for that exam. And, we like to kind of bring that moment back in terms of our audience saying, hey, this was a big moment in your career. It's a big moment in our students' career. So let's how do we align those two? How can we make that a point of emphasis and really highlight those things? So signature moments is key. Kind of plan them out, like I said, once a quarter, twice a year, depending on your budget may be good. But you want to have these key moments where people are talking about your organization and is at the forefront of their mind if they're thinking about giving to you. Communicate in several ways. Communication is really important. So whether that's social media, whether that's emails, newsletters, how you're communicating with your organization. I say communicate in several ways because you don't want to saturate your audience just by social media campaigns or text messaging campaigns or email blasts because they start to tune it out. So how can you reach them in different mediums, different modes? So, like Lasheena's doing right now, connecting with a live audience, having the ways to communicate through this means is great because now you get that direct one-on-one interaction. If folks have questions, you can answer them immediately and have feedback and they're engaged with you, right? I like to use visuals. Right. So whatever pictures we can show, whatever live footage that we can show and kind of put it out there, quick blast. People's attention span is short. So if you send a long email, chances of that getting read, slim to none. So how can you kind of capture what you're saying in several different ways? So whether that's, a quick social media live or whether that's, a quick post on social media, just saying, hey, we appreciate the work that you guys are doing for us. We just want to say thank you. Or here's a story of somebody that we impacted. Here's how your dollars help us get to that next level. And we just want to highlight that just so people can kind of see it and think about like, hey, I gave X amount of dollars and they're really doing some good work with it. So here, I'm going to give another amount to you, or I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. And, I'm just going to I'm going to share with this with other folks that I may know. So one of the biggest pet peeves of mine is you got to make giving easy, right? So folks, when they give to an organization, if they have to find out the address to mail it to, they have to find the give button on your website, or they just don't know how to give to you. If it's more than 3 clicks, then they're going to walk away. They're going to be like, well, I try to give. And so it was too difficult, it was too hard. So now, I'm going to get my dollars somewhere else, or I'm just not going to, I forgot to do it. And maybe when they send the next message, I'll think about doing it. So make it easy. So anytime you send out a message, anytime you have a social media campaign, drop that link in your bio, drop that link in the email so that when folks are reading through your messages or they get your text message, they see it. Okay, here's how I give, 1 click, text this to give, click on this link to give, whatever the case may be. Just make it as simple as possible, embedded in everything you do and all the communication that you have. Embed it there, get it out so that folks find it very easy to support. So you don't want to leave dollars on the table. And a lot of times when we talk to donors, they get lost in the process, right? If you make it difficult, like I said, they walk away. They don't spend that time trying to figure out, okay, I got to click here, I got to do this, got to do that. And then by the time they get to the point, they're like, well, this is just too much. I had 5 minutes to do this, and now my attention's been grabbed to something else. I have the kids calling me. They need my attention. I have dinner to make. I have someplace to go. I have a meeting to attend. So I just forgot. So you don't want that to happen. Make it quick, make it simple, make it easy. And really, the last thing is discipline. A lot of times with fundraising and with the work that we do, you have to set this plan, but your plan is a living, breathing document, right? So it changes, it changes with the environment, it changes with what's happening in the world. You want to be able to pivot as easy as possible, but you also want to have this discipline in terms of your plan. So if you say, hey, each week I'm going to send 10 emails to new potential donors, or I'm going to spend an hour each week researching nonprofit organizations who contribute to my cause. Find that time, set it aside, be disciplined in terms of the work that you're doing so that you can kind of see those results. It's when, we kind of get lost in the day-to-day of our jobs and what we do and all the things that we may have on our table, and we don't kind of carve out this time to say, all right, well, at the beginning of the year, I said I was going to do an alumni spotlight, this week. And then the next week, I wanted to make sure that I sent out these emails. And then the next week, I wanted to make sure that we had this event, or we wanted to do a social media campaign. And, before you know it, you start running that race and you forget about all these things that you set up with this fundraising plan at the beginning of your fiscal year. And you get to the end of the year and you're trying to cram it all in. And you end up, just kind of, either overworking yourself or just not getting it done. And that's when we fall short of our goals. So I encourage everyone to, have discipline, figure out what it is that you want to do in terms of your calendar, set that time aside, block out that time, get it done, and be consistent with it, because it's the consistency that you're really going to see those results. A lot of times in fundraising, they say it's luck, I don't think it's luck. It's because it's the discipline that we use to plan what we're trying to accomplish that we get there. So an email that I may have sent today may not show results for another 6 or 7 months, but that email may have opened the door for me to have a conversation with somebody. And that conversation may have led to me to connecting with somebody in my organization. And from there, it may lead to a gift. So like I said, you have to be consistent. You have to have that discipline. You have to be able to kind of work through the plan, but also be able to kind of maneuver and change with the environment as things come up as well. And really, that's it. So hopefully that was some good information that I shared. If not, or if so, if you want to connect with me, feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with you there. And I can also drop my email in the chat as well if you have some direct questions that I didn't cover.
Absolutely. Yes. If you can share your LinkedIn, I can drop it in the, or if you want to drop it in the live chat, either one, I can do that as well. So thank you so much. Those were wonderful tips. So I'm going to try to repeat them all. I think I got them all. So we got do what got you here, tying to your passion, get ready for the next year. You start looking ahead, especially for organizations like, and this happens a lot, and we see it a lot at the end of the year, that fourth quarter of the year when everyone's trying to do a big pump, whether it's Giving Tuesday campaign and everything, trying to get all their fundraising done in 3 months. And I love that you said, get ready for the next year. If you haven't done it all year and you're trying to hurry up and get it done, start planning ahead for the next year. Celebrate your success, review the data, and which is very important, because last month's theme was on measurement and evaluation, and using this information to kind of guide conversations. So I love that you talked about that. Believe in the mission, vision, and brand. I absolutely love that as well. And something that I wanted to say about that, believing your mission, vision, and brand. The other part, and I think you will agree, is also getting others to believe in your mission, vision, and brand, especially if you're a nonprofit founder. A lot of times you start it, you have this passion, but how do you get others to believe it? And it sounds like, and tell me if you agree with this, it sounds like if they don't believe your mission, vision, and brand, they should not be fundraisers on behalf of your organization. It was what it sounds like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing that I like to do as well is those who are passionate about an organization, I kind of help, like, let them be your fundraisers as well. Let them be your referral system. Ask them to introduce you to one or two people that may be passionate about this work as well, so that you all can get together and start contributing.
Love it, love it. Another thing you talked about was signature moments, highlighting those signature moments for your organization. You talk about how that's the graduation for you all. How do you make remind your donors of that feeling, which I love, that feeling that they had when they graduated from the school. Because I know I'm one of those people. If I feel like, oh, I remember when I was there, I'm gonna give, like you're like, yes, so I love that. So allowing your donors to be able to connect with that, communicate in several ways. I love that as well. For some Facebook Live work, messages, social media work, and for others it's the email, and for some it's like mail me still. So I like that there's using those several ways, making giving easy. I absolutely love that, and I saw our executive consultant Joe Tolliver drop the same thing, that one-click option, and he always say that, and I love that you share that as well, is one click, and it happens to us all. How many times do we get ready to, even if it's RSVPing for an event, and then you have to do a couple clicks? It's like, I'll do that later.
I'm good, right? Yeah.
And I'm sure with that one-click option is also limiting the amount of like the things you really need to know or really need on that form as well. You don't want to have too much of a lengthy process as well.
Right.
I'm sure. And then having discipline, I absolutely love that, because we have nonprofits tuning in from different sizes, small, medium, large, startups, and so forth. And the fact that you said pretty much having that consistency, having that discipline, no matter what size you are, can play a role in your fundraising efforts. I think I got all your tips.
You got it.
Yes. So I definitely appreciate you coming on today. And one of the things that we like to close out with is homework. With that, Dr. Proctor shared a lot of amazing tips with us, and I'm sure there's some areas that you may have found, I could do better in. So this week's homework is, when you identify that area, go ahead and start planning ahead for what that'll look like. Yeah, for some of you, you're closing your fiscal year within the next month or so. You might not get it done this month. That's fine, but go ahead and plan for that upcoming year. So of those tips, your homework is to choose one that you feel like you can improve your organization in, and take that and plan for the upcoming year. And then in addition, last but not least, next week we will be having our fund development webinar. So if you have not joined us for that, please make sure that you go ahead and register for that. And other than that, anything else, Dr. Proctor, that you would like to share before we close out today's live?
No, appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate you coming on, and hope we could get you on in a couple more sessions throughout the year. And thank you for your time, especially during this busy graduation season. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, thank you. All right, bye, everyone.